Hi everybody, this is my Module 5 presentation for AEP 858. And so my school is Emerson Elementary, and I'll be telling stories with data. So I first wanted to start by talking about who are we at Emerson. So I kind of took the KSDE data and used that to create graphic comparisons between Emerson and Kansas, or in Kansas as a whole in our student population. So the first one that I wanted to discuss was our economically disadvantaged students. So at Emerson, we have 96% of our students who are economically disadvantaged, whereas the state of Kansas only has about 48%. So we are much more economically disadvantaged than the state of Kansas as a whole. Likewise, racially, we also differ quite a bit from the state averages. So our students are around 68% Hispanic, whereas the state of Kansas is only around 20% Hispanic. So we are more Hispanic as a school, as well as more African American, but we are less white than the state of Kansas as a whole, with only 8.5% or 8.25, excuse me, of our students being white. We also have less students who fall in the other racial demographic than the state of Kansas as a whole. Other would include anyone from any Asian backgrounds, Native Americans, Pacific Islanders, Alaskan Natives, anybody from any of those backgrounds I believe would fall into other, and we do not have as many of such students as the state of Kansas does. Another way that our population is very different from the state of Kansas as a whole is in our number of ELL students, so students who are learning English as a second or other language. So we have around 39% of our students who are learning English as their second language. Almost every single one of those students is speaking Spanish as their primary or other language besides English. Whereas in the state of Kansas, we have around 12% of ELL students. So we have much more students learning English as their second language at Emerson than Kansas averages as a whole. So the next thing to look at is we know who we are, so now we want to talk about where we are in terms of our data and achievement. So for our Kansas assessment math data, in 2016, I created these graphs to show the differences between what Emerson's data looks like, what the school district's data looks like, and what the state's data looks like. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Kansas assessment rating system, a level 1 reflects a very limited understanding of the material, level 2 reflects a basic understanding of the material, level 3 reflects a proficient understanding, and level 4 reflects like an excellent or exceptional understanding. So in order for your students to be considered kind of at grade level, you would want them to be either at a level 3 or a level 4. So as you can see in our math assessment data, Emerson as a whole is performing better than the Kansas City, Kansas school district as a whole. So we have far more students who are reaching these level 3s and 4s than the school district does as a whole. However, we have fewer students who are reaching these levels at Emerson than there are at the district. So we have about 25% as compared to 23 and about 9% compared to 6%. So not huge differences, but nonetheless significant differences between Emerson's data and Kansas's average data. This is for the ELA portion of the assessment, which is reading and writing. So the level ratings stay the same between the topics, so they mean the same things. Again, you can see that Emerson performs well as compared to the district averages. However, compared to the state averages, we aren't achieving at quite as high of a level, most notably in the fact that the state average is about 9.36% of students at the level 4, whereas we're only at 2.67. So we have a low amount of students reaching that excellent understanding level. And then the final area of assessment in the state of Kansas is science at the elementary level. So here again we see less students at Emerson performing at this high level than at the state, however more students than the district averages. I would also like to point out here that we have this almost 60% of students who are at an extremely limited understanding of science concepts in the district, so perhaps the district needs to evaluate some of our science teaching principles. I also wanted to justify my use of Kansas assessment data rather than any other type of data. So because I work at an elementary school, it does not really benefit me to analyze graduation rates, ACT scores, or anything like that that are available on KSDE. So state assessment is really the best measure of elementary achievement that's available on the KSDE website. So after you know who you are and where you are, you kind of need to know where do you want to go. So these are some of our district initiatives that have been present for many years, and then some that are new this year. So our mission is inspiring excellence, every grown-up, every child, every day. So I think of excellence as being far superior to average. So if we go back and look at some of these data points, we can see that Emerson is performing quite well compared to other schools in the KCK district. However, I don't necessarily know that I would consider these scores excellent when, you know, such a large amount of your students aren't performing at grade level. So what the district has done in recent months is they've justified our data being better than district average to say, oh, well, you don't need resources and support. So they removed our ESL teacher. So remember, we have around 40% of our students are ELL, and we no longer have an ELL teacher. They removed our teaching leader, or our teacher leaders, so our instructional coaches are no longer serving our building. So they've kind of used our data being better than district average in order to remove supports that help make our data better. However, I don't necessarily think our data is excellent, so I think that the district needs to reevaluate those decisions. And then the vision here is striving to become one of the top 10 school districts in the nation. So if you want to be top 10 in the nation, then you definitely need to be top 10 in Kansas. So we need to figure out how KCK can perform above average in Kansas, and then translate that on to how it can perform above average in terms of the entire nation. We also got a new superintendent this year, so he's kind of set some new goals this year. So we want to see students graduating high school through this program that we're calling Diploma Plus, which means that they're not just graduating with a high school diploma, they're also graduating maybe with some sort of vocational training or some sort of certification to do some a job like a certified nursing assistant certification, or they are graduating having completed a portion of their college, which will reduce their financial burden on their families when they do decide to go to college and increase the likelihood that they actually graduate from college. So we're trying to figure out how we can transition students from school to a career more effectively. We also want 90% of our kindergartners to be reading at grade level by the end of the year. And then finally, the initiative is to increase math scores across the district. So the next thing you need to think about is how you're going to get to these places. So this is kind of my list of how Emerson can help the district create some of these sort of initiatives and goals and make sure that they are successful. So we need to first increase our student scores in mathematics. One way that we're currently working on that is through a new curriculum this year called Eureka Math. It's much more rigorous than our previous curriculum, so we're hoping that that translates to more student success. We also need to increase kindergarten grade level performance in reading. So if students are leaving kindergarten at grade level, then hopefully they will be on grade level in first grade and second grade. And then finally, when they do get up to taking the state assessment in third, fourth, and fifth grade, hopefully they will be at that grade level mark then as well. Increasing state assessment scores is a focus for us, and I would like to see our school focus on the state averages and trying to beat those state averages and really striving for more excellence rather than just saying, well, we're doing pretty good compared to the rest of our district, sounds like we're doing all right. I think that sort of complacency is really dangerous in terms of inspiring continuous improvement. I also would like to see our school do an even better job. I think we already do a pretty good job of this, but an even better job of supporting high needs students. As often, high needs students, like students who are learning English as a second language or who have diagnosed disabilities, are performing less effectively on these sorts of tests for obvious reasons. So how can we further support these students to ensure that they are not falling through the cracks? And then finally, a lot of these district initiatives maybe don't relate to the elementary level. And that's something that elementary teachers can be frustrated with often is, well, how does this relate to me? So we need to ensure that students are leaving elementary school on grade level in order to set them up for success in the future. If students leave our fifth grade class on grade level, then hopefully they'll also be on grade level in middle school and then even in high school and then beyond. So those are kind of some of the ways that we can work on to reach improvement. And the works cited page, so pretty much what I used was the KSDE report card. Some of the graphs were pulled directly from KSDE, and some of them I made based on the data available at the KSDE website. Thank you so much for watching.